Today, we are going to be looking at magic cards to see if they're good or not. Okay, first off, we have Blood Moon. It costs 3 mana to use this, is that correct?
Yes, 2 of any color and 1 red.
And its effect is non-basic lands are mountains.
The one ruling thing I'll say is, when it says are mountains, it's not in addition, it's instead of. So they're mountains instead of whatever they were. So this transforms all non-basics into mountains.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. So,
all right.
This one just says all non-basic lands are mountains. So my assumption was like Zombie World, where it just turns their type into this, but it's only for lands. I know Magic has a system where you need to pay specific types of land in order to bring out cards. So this is essentially a floodgate, which converts them all into a different type, kind of like Zombie World. But it's way more effective of a floodgate, I'd assume, than Zombie World, because land types matter a lot more than types of monsters. And since this is an always-on continuous spell, I'm going to assume that this card right here is a pretty good floodgate, because you want your lands to be of the specific types that you played and not specifically mountains. So I'm going to go with that. This is a good card.
Yeah, this card is really strong, and it's really important for the meta because kind of like a gatekeeper of the format to stop people from playing really degenerate strategies, and it's really important to like keep the balance in that way.
Oh, so it's like a 1 card which balances the whole format?
Yeah, Magic does that a lot, actually.
Oh, that's terrible. That's Max C. It's literally what Max C exists for. No, but then again, Nibiru does that too, and it's not that bad.
And the thing is you can just play around Blood Moon. Like, one thing we'll talk about later is there are ways to like just find basics instead of non-basics, and so it's not that bad, but it's really important, I would say.
Okay, so next up we have Brainstorm. This one costs 1 water land to use. So it's an instant, which means spell speed 2, draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. So 1 mana, draw 3, put 2 back from your hand. So this is essentially card neutral and advantage. So like Graceful Charity, except the cards don't go to the graveyard, they go back to the top of your deck. However, you get to stack the top of your deck. And it costs 1 mana, which is a bigger deal. In Yu-Gi-Oh! This card would be good, but I'm going to assume in Magic, this card is also good. I can't see anything wrong with this card. It's only 1 mana and you get to cycle through your deck and pick what you want in your hand. Yeah, this is probably a good card. What do you say?
This card is like insane. It's almost too good. Like, so Magic has multiple formats. This is banned in Modern, in Legal, and Legacy, and the fact that it's Legal and Legacy is format warping.
Oh, well, that's great, because I remember like when I was doing the Pokemon stream, I was like, okay, so this card draws 3 cards, it's super good, and everyone was like, no, that's bad, it's terrible.
As a Magic player, going to Pokemon was like pretty insane. It's like, it's wild how much you can just draw cards and search for whatever you want in that game. It's very different.
Yeah, I'm glad to see Magic has kind of the same power scale draw as Yu-Gi-Oh, where this effect is still good, even over there. Next card, we have the Gorger Hydra.
Mana Gorger.
Or Mana Gorger, I knew that didn't sound right. Okay, so it costs 1 green, 2 colorless, creature Hydra. It has trample, which is piercing damage, I believe. Whenever a player casts a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Mana Gorger Hydra. A counter. Okay, so spells, pretty much everything is a spell in Magic, from what I remember correctly, except for lands.
Yeah,
so
everything that isn't a land is a spell.
Yeah, so if your opponent just uses any card, it's going to gain +1/+1.
And when you do.
Whenever a player... Okay, so it's not just your opponent, it's you. Oh, so this is a combo tool. So you throw this down, and then you start casting all of your combos, and you get this thing up to huge values, and then it just tramples over whatever your opponent might have when it attacks on your next turn because of summoning sickness. Destruction effects, from what I remember, are not very common in Magic.
They're very common.
They are?
Yes, most decks play creature destruction.
Okay, well, never mind then. It seems like if it's left unchecked, it might become a problem, but big beat sticks generally aren't super good in card games. They sound better than they really are, like new player traps. So I'm going to assume that this card right here is like a casual card. It's like Power of the Guardians. It's not that great. Is that correct?
Yeah, creatures dying to removal isn't the best argument against them, but this dies to all the removal.
Next up, we have Colossal Hammer. This one costs 81 mana to activate. It's artifact equipment, which I remember is you pay the cost to put this on the field, then you pay a separate cost in order to equip it to a creature. Equipped creature gets +10/+10 and loses flying. Equip cost 8 mana. 8. Attached to target creature you control, equip only as a sorcery. It's an equip card, which grants one creature +10/+10. On surface level, if you have to pay 8 mana to attach this sounds terrible, even if they get a huge amount of attack. Unless you could attach this as like a spell speed 2 effect in order to just like swing for some crazy damage. But I don't think that doesn't really work in Magic because of how their combat system works. So I guess even if you can attach this by cheating out the mana cost, you'd have to cheat it out very cheaply. Because paying a whole bunch of mana, I mean a 10 +10/+10 is really good though. Okay, this one's kind of difficult. I'm ignoring chat because I know they'll give me spoilers. I'm gonna go, this is pretty average, maybe on the bad side. Because I can't, because it's just an equip card. Equip cards usually suck. It's probably terrible even.
This card is, people, when this card came out, they're like, this is either gonna be a gimmick or it's gonna be like actually good. And it turned out to be actually legitimate. Like,
what? How did they turn this into a legit?
So there's a 1 mana card, it's an enchantment called Sigarda's Aid. And what it says is you can cast equipment spells, and aura spells as though they had flash, which means at spell speed 2. And when equipment enter the battlefield, you attach them to target creature. Is you can play like a 0 mana creature on turn 1. With turn 2, you can attack. So you declare attackers. Both players get priority. Then you go to blockers. They get to declare blockers. If they don't have something that can block flying, they can't block this. Then you get priority again. You cast Colossal Hammer, equip it to the flying threat. It loses flying, but it was already declared as unblocked. You deal 10 damage to them.
Yeah, I didn't think they would have cards that let you cheat this on spell speed 2. Now that wasn't something I thought existed in Magic. So next up we have Creeping Chill, cost 4 mana. Creeping Chill deals 3 damage to each opponent and you gain 3 life. Do they have like game modes where you're facing multiple people at once?
Yeah, Commander. That's the most popular one.
Yeah, that's why a lot of these cards have like plurals when they're talking about dealing damage to a player. Yugioh used to have that in the early days, but they stopped because they're like, yeah, we're not going to have multiple duels. Let's see. When Creeping Chill is put into your graveyard from your library, you may exile it. If you do, Creeping Chill deals 3 damage to each opponent and you gain 3 life. Oh. Exile is a banish, right?
Yep.
Okay. So you can activate this card for 4 mana in order to deal 3 damage to your opponent and then gain 3 life. 3 damage for 4 mana sounds terrible. However, it also does the same exact effect if it's milled. It's actual graveyard effect, huh? Well, a mill effect. It's like a Lightsworn Wolf, where its effect activates when it's sent from the deck to the graveyard. This one deals burn damage. 3 damage, it still doesn't seem like very much. It seems like if you have 4 cards in your deck and you do this 4 times, that's like, what, 12 damage, half their life? Okay, I'm going to say this is a good card.
Yeah, this is really good.
Yeah.
There are like graveyard decks that just like mill themselves a lot to put cards in their graveyard and just activate graveyard effects in Magic. It felt like cheating every time I got this effect. It's like, I guess I just start with 32 life instead of 20 because I have these in my deck.
Yeah, you can go above 20, can't you? I keep thinking of like Hearthstone where you can't go above the maximum health value. Next up, we have Demonic Bargain. This one costs 3 mana, 2 of any color, plus 1 black, sorcery, which is spell speed 1. Exile the top 13 cards of your library, then search your library for a card. Put that card into your hand and then shuffle. Oh, so it's like a Pot of Desires, but instead of drawing 2 cards, you get a search. So, I'm going to say this card right here, probably amazing. Super good. Everybody plays it just like Pot of Desires, even though the exile part seems hefty. Oh, chat is saying this card's bad. 3 mana for search is bad.
Nobody plays this card.
What? How is this card terrible? You can search anything. You said searching's good.
Like, here's the thing. Like, you'd rather... It's more consistent to just play, like, 1 and 2 mana, like, cantrips that look at the top couple of cards and let you draw and replace themselves, rather than play this tutor that has a massive chance of whiffing, and it's also kind of slow. Paying 3 mana for this effect is still pretty steep.
Well, I mean, I guess if it just doesn't really work because there's better cards at search and you don't really need to search one specific card. Next one, we have Golgari Grave Troll. This one costs 5 mana, 4 of any color, plus 1 green, or is that called land? Golgari Grave Troll enters the battlefield with +1/+1 counter on it for each creature card in your graveyard. 1 mana, remove a +1/+1 counter from this card, regenerate Golgari Grave Troll. Wait, what does regenerate mean?
The exact wording of it is weird, but basically the next time it would be destroyed this turn, it isn't.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has that too. Dredge 6. What does dredge mean? What is dredge 6?
Dredge, whenever you would draw a card, if there's a dredge card in your graveyard, you can instead put that card from your graveyard into your hand and then mill that many cards. So if this card's in your graveyard and you would draw a card, you mill 6 and put this back into your hand.
Oh, that seems really good. Okay, so let's see. It enters the battlefield, +1/+1 counter for each card in your graveyard. It has a milling effect, and it synergizes with mill, and it has an effect to just, take a minor loss. You lose 1 mana, you lose 1 of its tokens, and it gains protection. Is it forever? Do they just gain this effect until it triggers?
For the rest of the turn.
Okay, so just until the end of the turn. Well, that's not as good, because your opponent can just chain destruction to that. No, it's still a good effect. Even if your opponent, just because, something can be countered, doesn't mean it's bad. You have to look at the effect on a whole. Okay, so 5 mana is kind of steep, though. Ugh. This seems like a late game card. Late game cards usually aren't very good, but milling 6 to add it back to your hand? Man, I don't actually know. I'm thinking, so let's see. If its effect is to dredge 6, I'm going to assume it's played in a deck that mills a lot. So you would have a lot of creatures in your graveyard. So if it comes out for 5 mana, it better have some nice impressive stats. And if it has nice impressive stats, it can put a token on itself so that it's not destroyed as easily. This seems decent. I'm going to say this is probably a good card. What's the consensus on it?
This is Magic the Gathering that grass looks greener. Like, it's that good. This is banned in Modern.
What?
I
didn't think it was that good. Holy shit.
No, it's that good. First off, you don't cast this card. There's no reason to do that. You just keep putting it in your graveyard and keep dredging it back. They unbanned this for a little while because they thought it wasn't that bad, and they had to ban it again immediately because it was way too good.
Next up, we have Grizzle Brand. This one cost 8 mana. Legendary creature, demon, flying, lifelink. What's lifelink?
When it deals damage, you gain that much life.
Oh, okay. So yeah, lifesteal. So pay 7 life, draw 7 cards. Holy hell. That doesn't cost mana.
Nope.
So he's 8 mana. You just pay 7 life, draw 7 cards. 7/7, 8 mana, draw 7 cards. Flying, gains the life back if he attacks, basically. Pay 7 life, draw 7. That's so good. This is broken. It's like a game-winning card. This is amazing. Normally I would say big boss monsters that cost tons of mana to bring out and don't have any protection. Normally pretty bad in Hearthstone. In Yu-Gi-Oh! Also kind of bad. Unless they have a negate, protection. This one doesn't have any protection. However, drawing 7 cards is super good. If this existed in Yu-Gi-Oh! With a similar amount of things, everybody would play it. No, I'm gonna say this is good. This is a great card. What's the consensus on this?
It's not the best because it performs a very specific function, but it is the most powerful creature in Magic, and it's very good. If you can get this card onto the battlefield, you're probably winning that game, and there are decks built around doing that. I want to point out that
it's not once per turn?
Yeah,
what?
It's instant speed, not on's per turn. You can pay 14 life, draw 14. You can do that in response to removal.
I didn't even think of that.
It's super crazy. It's very hard to lose the game once you put a Grizzle Brand into play.
Oh my god, you can just draw everything.
Yeah, and it is difficult enough to do that it's not game breaking, but it is meta defining.
Damn, the mana cost on this. Temporal Trespass. 8 mana plus 3 blue mana for a grand total of 11 mana to cast. This is the highest mana cost so far. Sorcery. Spell speed 1. Okay, this effect's going to be ridiculous. Let's see, Delve. Each card you exile from your graveyard while casting the spell pays 1. Okay, so you can cast it for 3 blues, essentially, if you banish 8 cards from your graveyard. Okay, that's not so bad. Take an extra turn after this one. Exile Temporal Trespass. Okay, I'm not even going to look at this card further. It's amazing, excellent, probably banned. You agree, right? What's this? What's the consensus on it?
Don't feel bad about this. Everyone else fell for it too. We all fell for it. It's not good.
Maybe our extra turn's just not as valuable in Magic, because someone said, chat says, so this one too is too clunky to do everything. The triple blue does a lot to hold it back, and 8 is a lot. Better take another turn spell exists, such as a 5 mana instant speed and no setup. There's another one for only 5 mana?
Taking extra turns is a common effect that they put on blue cards in Magic.
What? That's the strongest effect in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Well, again, if you spend all your mana on an extra turn spell, then like it didn't actually do anything for you. Like you have to have other cards in play for it to actually do anything, or enough mana to cast another spell such that it actually accomplishes something. Like extra turn spells by themselves don't do anything. Like
the 6 Samurai effect. Here's the thing. There's a card which also gives you an extra turn in Yu-Gi-Oh! Which requires you to have a ridiculous board state. But that card is not meant to be viable. This one seems like it was actually made to be playable. Next up, we have... Wow, this one's really old. It costs 2 mana, 2 white mana, Sorcery. When the subgame is over, players shuffle those cards, return them to libraries, resume game in progress, with any loser of subgame having his or her remaining life points rounded down. Effects to prevent damage may not be used to counter this loss of life. The subgame has no ante. Using less than 40 cards may be necessary. Ooh, ante. That's a... They had an ante system in Magic?
Yeah, they had to stop doing it because it went against gambling laws.
Yeah, that's a terrible system. Yeah, okay, so what I'm gleaming from this is when you play this card, you basically take your decks, you and your opponent take your deck, and you like would move to like a different play field, and then you would play a full game of Magic, you know, from conclusion, start to finish, and then whoever won that game won the effect where your opponent's life points were just cut in half. And then you take the deck, shuffle it, put it back into the normal game you were doing, and then play it again like normal. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it works.
That is incredibly convoluted. What the hell?
Yeah, this card is banned in every format, not because it's too good, but because they just don't want people to play this card. Someone asked us in chat. Yes, you can play a Shahrazad subgame within a Shahrazad subgame.
Oh my god, that's...
You can get... Because you have 4 copies, if both players do it, you can get like 8 subgames deep, theoretically.
Fiber Jar? No, Fiber Jar is actually good though. This is this is just like wasting time. It's like a self-destruct button. The reason self-destruct button is banned is because it wastes time. Okay, so that's the end of this video. In the actual stream, I go over about 30 cards. So if you want to see more of that, just click on the video, which will be on screen. Also, if you want to suggest other card games or submit cards when I do pick one, make sure to follow my Twitter. The link will be down in the video description, along with my new Twitch channel, which will have other streams similar to this.